When we picture a brewmaster today, we often imagine a bearded man in a brewery, surrounded by gleaming tanks and the aroma of hops. This image is so common that it's easy to forget how recent it really is. For thousands of years, brewing was actually women's work, an essential domestic duty and a source of both sustenance and power within the home and community. Long before beer became a commercial product, it was a daily necessity, crafted by women for their families and neighbors. The story of beer is inseparable from the story of women. Across continents and cultures, women were the first to master the art and science of fermentation, shaping the very foundation of brewing traditions. They were the original innovators, transforming humble grains into a nourishing, safe, and culturally significant drink. Their creativity and skill turned simple ingredients into something magical, beer that brought people together and sustained entire communities. Brewing was an extension of household management, performed at the hearth long before it became an industry. It was as vital as baking bread or drawing water, woven into the rhythms of daily life. Ancient societies recognized women as the keepers of brewing knowledge. They ran taverns, gained social standing, and even served as priestesses to brewing goddesses, holding positions of respect and influence. Their work was vital to daily life, woven into religion, law, and economics. Beer was not just a drink, it was a symbol of prosperity, a tool for trade, and a sacred offering in rituals. Women standardized recipes, turned brewing into a respected profession, and passed down their craft through generations. Mothers taught daughters, and knowledge flowed from one era to the next, preserving techniques and traditions. The evidence is everywhere, in hymns, legal codes, and archaeological finds. Ancient tablets and artifacts reveal the central role women played in the evolution of beer. For millennia, women stood at the center of beer's story, its first scientists, entrepreneurs, and guardians. Their ingenuity and dedication shaped the drink we know today. Recognizing their foundational role reshapes our understanding of both beer and civilization itself, reminding us that the history of brewing is, at its heart, a story of women's creativity, resilience, and enduring legacy. In the ancient world, beer was more than just a drink. It was a pillar of society, deeply woven into the fabric of daily life. From the earliest days of civilization, beer was cherished not only for its taste, but for its life-sustaining properties. It was a vital source of nutrition, often safer to drink than water, and provided sustenance when food was scarce. Called liquid bread, beer delivered essential calories, vitamins, and minerals, sustaining families and laborers alike through long days of work and hardship. Beer was a social glue, central to gatherings, rituals, and celebrations. It was shared communally, marking every occasion from religious ceremonies to simple family meals, and helping to strengthen the bonds between people. It was also a form of currency, especially in Mesopotamia and Egypt, where workers were often paid in beer, making it a key economic asset and a symbol of prosperity. Beer's production and consumption were woven into daily life, powering the growth of cities and empires. Brewing became a cornerstone of early urban economies, supporting trade and innovation. Those who controlled brewing, primarily women, held significant, if often overlooked, influence in their communities. They were the keepers of recipes and traditions, passing down knowledge through generations. These women weren't just making a drink, they were creating a substance essential to health, happiness, and prosperity, shaping the very foundation of early societies. Beer's importance in early cultures cannot be overstated. It was a force that nourished bodies, built communities, and helped spark the rise of civilization itself. To understand women's role in brewing, we travel back to ancient Sumer over 5,000 years ago. Archaeologists have found beer residue in Sumerian pottery, and cuneiform tablets detail beer rations, recipes, and rituals. Beer was systematically produced and regulated, with women at the heart of the process. Sumerian goddesses, not gods, were patrons of brewing, reflecting the reality that women dominated the craft. Brewing knowledge was passed from mother to daughter, making the home the first brewery and women the first brewmasters. Art from the era often shows women serving and presiding over communal beer drinking. From the dawn of recorded history, beer was a woman's story, central to culture, economy, and spirituality. The Sumerian legacy cements women's foundational place in brewing. The hymn to Ninkasi, an ancient Sumerian poem, is both a prayer to the goddess of beer and a remarkable window into the daily life and spiritual beliefs of early civilization. Passed down through generations, this hymn is more than just words. It's a living tradition that reveals how deeply beer was woven into the fabric of Sumerian society. It is also the world's oldest known brewing recipe, inscribed on clay tablets over 4,000 years ago, preserving the knowledge and reverence of ancient brewers. Ninkasi, the divine brewmaster, was celebrated for transforming humble grains into beer, a sacred act and a daily ritual that brought people together and honored the gods. The hymn details each step, sprouting grains, a process that required patience and skill as the first stage in the magical transformation from seed to drink. Baking barley bread and mixing the mash followed, with each movement echoing centuries of tradition and care. Then came fermenting, a mysterious and vital step, all described in poetic language that elevated brewing to an art form. Women likely sang this hymn as they brewed, blending practical instruction with spiritual devotion, their voices rising in harmony as they honored Ninkasi and shared their knowledge. Brewing was more than a chore. It was a sacred ritual connecting women to the divine, to each other, and to their community, forging bonds that lasted a lifetime. The hymn's vivid imagery links beer to the life-giving rivers of Mesopotamia, underscoring its importance as both nourishment and a symbol of abundance. This ancient recipe is a testament to women's expertise, ingenuity, and the respect they commanded as keepers of this essential craft. Their work was revered, and the act of brewing was seen as a vital contribution to society and spiritual life. Beer, in Sumer, was truly a gift from the goddess, channeled through women's hands, nourishing both body and soul, and connecting the people to their gods. Women's central role in brewing was so vital that it was enshrined in the Code of Hammurabi, one of history's earliest legal codes. Babylonian laws regulated beer production and sale, holding female tavern keepers, alewives, accountable for fair trade. Penalties for cheating customers were severe, showing how crucial beer was to the economy and social order. Alewives were recognized as independent business owners, responsible for both commerce and community safety. Taverns were social hubs, and women who ran them held positions of public trust. The code legitimized their trade, granting women economic autonomy rare for the time. Women were not confined to the home. They were respected, regulated, and essential to city life. The Code of Hammurabi affirms women's power as brewers and entrepreneurs. In ancient times, water was often unsafe, contaminated by disease-causing pathogens. Beer, however, was safer, thanks to the brewing process. Boiling the wort killed harmful microbes, and fermentation created alcohol and acidity that further protected against bacteria. Even without understanding germ theory, women brewers provided a clean, nourishing drink for their families and communities. Beer became a staple for all ages, offering hydration and nutrition when water could not. The low-alcohol small beer was consumed daily, especially by children. Women's brewing was a form of public health, protecting entire populations from waterborne illness. Their traditional knowledge was a critical defense against disease. For millennia, brewing was women's work, central to home and community life. But in medieval Europe, brewing shifted from the domestic sphere to monasteries and later commercial breweries, domains dominated by men. Monks brewed on a large scale, refining techniques and introducing hops, which allowed beer to be stored and transported farther. Brewing guilds formed, excluding women and professionalizing the trade. As brewing became more profitable, men took over and women's roles were diminished or maligned. By the Industrial Revolution, brewing was a male-dominated industry and women's foundational contributions were forgotten. The image of the brewer changed from the alewife to the industrialist. The sacred domestic art of brewing was replaced by large-scale science and commerce. Women's legacy as the original brewmasters faded from memory. Today, the world's largest beer market isn't in Europe or the US, it's China. China's immense population and growing middle class have made it the global center of beer consumption. The best-selling beer worldwide is Snow, a Chinese brand sold almost exclusively within China. Snow's success shows that beer's story is about more than tradition. It's about scale, economics, and accessibility. From ancient Sumerian gruel to mass-produced lagers, beer has adapted to every era and culture. Its form and meaning change, but its role as a social and cultural staple endures. The rise of China as a beer superpower connects the ancient and modern worlds. Beer's journey is global and timeless, always evolving. For most of history, women were the keepers of brewing, innovators, entrepreneurs, and guardians of public health. Reclaiming this legacy challenges stereotypes and enriches our understanding of beer as a cultural artifact. Today, more women are returning to brewing, inspired by ancient recipes and supported by organizations like the Pink Boots Society. This revival brings women back to the forefront of an industry they founded. Let's raise a glass to Ninkasi, the Alewives, and all the women whose skill and spirit shape the history of beer. Their stories remind us that even the most ordinary things can hold extraordinary histories. By remembering them, we honor their indispensable role in humanity's long, cheerful story. Cheers to the original brewmasters.